name is Rachel and I'm here today to talk about a book. So the book is Heimat. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Heimat, no idea. This is by Nora Krug and this is a graphic memoir. She's originally German and oh my god, this is just one of the best books I've ever read. I could not recommend it enough. So scaling back, let's do a bit of an overview. So this book is Nora Krug's examination and journey into her own past and her own family history in order to kind of find out how much involvement and the history behind her family and their links with the Nazi Party. And her thought process with this is that she always tries to avoid it, everybody avoids it. So if she actually finds out the truth of her family and how they interacted with the Nazi Party, if they were part of the Nazi Party, if they were part of concentration camps, anything like that, she will be able to find out the truth, and through knowing that and being able to come to terms with it, she will be able to move on with her life. Already a fascinating thing to go into. The reason that I wanted to pick this book up specifically is I had never thought about this, and then when I went to A-level I remember we spent an entire year on Germany from like just before the 1900s up to 1945, and we did just everything that happened through like why the First World War ended up happening, why then, you know, that leading to the Second World War. We did it all from Germany's perspective and it was just honestly one of the best things I've ever done, like studying wise. It was so interesting. So that was kind of my knowledge about it. And then obviously I lived in Switzerland for 2 years. If you've watched this channel for a while you might know that. I was an au pair over there. Although I was in Switzerland, the family that I lived with was originally German. I remember being there and I remember talking to the mum of the family. Well, she was really shocked by what I was saying because I was sort of very like sympathetic towards Germany, and she was so shocked by that. And she was talking about how they were taught Germany was wrong, this is Germany's fault, Germany should take the blame for all of this, and that sometimes she was saying she has like colleagues who are Jewish and she'll feel this like guilt around them, and it's just something that's always there. She was like, one of my colleagues I've known for like 10-20 years and I still feel it. She was like, it's just a thing that's very prevalent in German people and it's something that is kind of hammered into them as kids. And I can imagine, because I think she's around 40, so like growing up, she's going to be growing up within like 50 years of the Nazi Party happening. I can imagine that it would be quite a prevalent thing and something that was repeated a lot. So yeah, anyway, that whole idea was very interesting to me. And so when I had seen this book, which is a book where she directly talks about this feeling which she calls inherited sin, so she kind of compares it to, is it just Catholicism or Christianism in general, where they talk about original sin, and that's why babies get baptized, because they need to get rid of the original sin. She talks about it as inherited sin. I don't know if that's a common term for it or whether it's just something that she decided to call it, but she talks about the sin that you inherit as a person being born German because of the atrocities that happened. So the whole thing is just fascinating. That's the reason I picked it up. That's a really long introduction to this book. That's the reason that I wanted to pick this up. That's the reason I was like fascinated by it, and it does not disappoint in any way, shape or form. This book is phenomenal. Suffice to say, I gave it 5 stars. Art style wise, it is absolutely beautiful. The way that it's done is there's these long pages where she will like talk about it, and then you'll also have pictures. We'll have cartoons of her trying to come to terms with events that had happened, her imagining of what happened at those events, as well as some of the original letters and transcripts that she found translated into English. Things like these scrapbook memories that she does, where you've got letters containing hair and dried flowers and other letters that are just written in German originally. I just thought the whole thing was put together really well, and the way that she included like evidence, for lack of a better word, was done really, really well, and I really liked having the original German in there as well. She didn't just translate it, she would include like a photo of it. And I don't know if that's just because I really like German as a language, or whether, you know, it does add to the story, who knows, but I just found it absolutely fascinating, and the way that she'd put it together was really well done. I think it would be very easy for a book like this to be ridiculously overwhelming. Like, for a normal book, it's just a normal amount of writing, but for a graphic novel, you know, you have pages like this that are absolutely full to the brim of writing, and you know, they're not like few and far between. A lot of the pages are full of writing, and I think, yeah, it could have been really, really overwhelming, but she does it in such a fantastic way that it reads really easily. So really enjoyed that. The only other thing I wanted to say is that I would compare this slightly to something like Mouse by Art Spiegelman, which is another graphic novel where we have a relative going to talk to grandparents, family, that sort of thing, to find out about, you know, what happened to them in the war or anything like that. Obviously, Art Spiegelman is talking to his grandfather who ended up in a concentration camp, and his whole journey of being a Jewish person during the Second World War. So it's different, but at the same time it is very similar. It is that person really trying to come to terms with what happened to their relative at that time. But I would say that this is a lot more successful. I think largely due to the fact that I really did not like the illustration style in Mouse. I found the writing, like the actual like writing in the speech bubbles and stuff, really hard to read at times. It's so compact that I just found I was like, I don't know, I don't think that the way that that's told translates in the best way. I think I gave it 5 stars when I read it, but it was one of the first non-fiction graphic novels I read, and it was kind of like one of those gateway books into reading like graphic memoirs, and I really loved that. But now I think I probably wouldn't have given it that, just because the art style, yeah, is so difficult for me personally. And this doesn't suffer from that. I think it's so easy to read and so accessible. Nora Krug doesn't try to forgive anyone in her family. She doesn't try and say, even when evidence points to, okay, well, they probably weren't actually that bad, or they probably didn't actually fully back the Nazi party, they just kind of went along with it because they were there, but they didn't commit any atrocities. When it leans that way, she still doesn't really accept that. She's still like, well, you know, how much could you have done that? Could that really be the case? And even when she does decide that maybe it can, she refuses to let them off the hook, and it's very much like, well, you're still a bad person for not standing up and being counted with the resistance or whatever. So she isn't forgiving of her family, but it's just a really well done graphic novel and a well researched project, for lack of a better word for it. And I absolutely adored this book, so gave it 5 stars, would highly recommend it if you like graphic novels, graphic memoirs, anything like that, or if you're just into like history, especially history of the Second World War. This is fascinating, like so fascinating, would highly recommend it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. If you have read this book, please let me know what you thought of it down below, and yeah, we'll see you in my next video. Bye!